Sup nerds, I'm Tom.
I'm Wes.
And I'm Aaron.
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Here's the grid. We're doing it.
Power Rangers would best be described as a tower defense game where you are trying to defend the city from the putty patrollers. They're going to be spawning out in the different areas, and we're going to be going around with each of us controlling a Power Ranger and doing our super sick power punch moves and trying to take them out before they overrun the city and everyone panics. Because if we panic, we all die.
So it's a fully co-op game. We're all playing on a team, and there's not like individual turns either. We each have action tokens, and we get to decide what turn those tokens select. Mm-hmm. So I could play a token to move over here, then Aaron plays a token to move in there, and then Aaron plays a token to start a battle there.
So I become the leader for that battle.
But because I'm also there, I get to join into that battle without spending a token. Mm-hmm. That battle finishes, and then I can spend a token to start a battle there. I become the lead person in that battle, but Aaron's also in there. So there's a lot of strategic planning within your group. It's not like your turn, do your thing, my turn, I'm going to do my thing now.
So they mentioned battling a lot, and that is a huge part of the game because there's going to be tons of monsters and tons of minis getting thrown onto the board in the different areas that you need to go there and try and wipe it out. And a lot of battling is we'll draw cards from the villain deck, and we'll have to fight them individually. They have a way that they sort of activate down a line, so you can be a bit strategic in which one you trying to attack when. But you have this hand of cards, and your cards are both your like actions for attack, but they're also your health. So it's a pretty interesting, like, multi-use, so to speak. Oh, I don't know if multi-use is the best way because you have them in your hand for attacks, and then it's from your deck when they use when you're taking damage and stuff. Mm-hmm. So they're multi-use, but when they're in different areas. But you spend resources to play cards to roll dice to attack the monsters. And while without getting into specifics, that's a pretty good overview of the game.
When we go into a battle, we're going to deal out up to 4 cards. So say you select 4 of the monsters you want to attack. You can pick the super putty patrollers, which are the bigger ones, or the just normal ones, the regular putty patrollers, and we deal out 4 cards. And then some of them have keywords on them. If it says fast, it's going to move to the front of the line. They're actually going to attack you before the heroes have a chance to attack. Because normally we just do an attack and then we trigger the first card in the line from the patrollers, and then we attack again, and then they trigger the next card, and then we attack, and you keep going down. We get a final attack at the end, and any cards that we knocked out, they just flip over, so they actually, when they activate, they don't do anything. So what you're talking about is you want to be strategic. You want to try and knock out the ones that are further down the line so that they won't activate. But some cards have guard, which guard the cards next to them, so you have to take those out first before you can take out other cards.
Yeah, but after we take them out, they go over to the board.
Yeah, so they're basically like experience, and after you kill 6 putty patrollers, we get the first part of the Megazoid.
Megazord. So
you get
an exosuit. You can tell that we really don't know much about Power Rangers.
So we get these super cool once per round abilities. You're gonna tap them to use them, and they do really cool things. They let you draw cards. They give people health. They give extra dice.
And even if you play with less than, it's 5 different characters, but even if you play with less than that, you still have those abilities in there that just get, so like the red one will get given to the red player, but if you draw the blue one and nobody's playing the blue player, you still get to use that card.
Because even though the red player has it, all these abilities pretty much, like, they help everyone at the table, and you could use them even if you're out in the battle and stuff, so it doesn't really matter who's controlling them. It's just thematically, like, of course the red player gets the red one. This game is definitely challenging, but it's not complicated. No. Like, it's very straightforward in what you're doing. It's, especially if you have someone who knows the game, you can definitely teach new players and, like, non-gamers this game, and they'll get it because it is pretty much, you've got these different zones. The dudes spawn out there. You go and you do your actions and fight them. The hard part comes from how many guys there are, and they're just constantly flooding the board, and then you've got one area that gets overrun, and then they move around, and if all 4 areas are overrun, you lose, and there's like more complicated version where they're going to the middle, and you've got to try to fight them there as well. But that makes it feel like more pandemic-y, because you've got, different zones that are getting bigger, and, they're about to pop, and so you want to go nail them down. But like the shape of the board and the zones and how you move around makes it feel more tower defense-y, kind of like Castle Panic. I'd say it's probably more complicated than Castle Panic.
without them like coming into like they're not moving in
because there's like more abilities and there's more like cards in your hand, you're a little bit more strategic, but not that much. Would you say it's much more complicated? There's more dice rolling, and that's probably one of the biggest things. There's a lot more like chance and randomness.
So there's still
it.
the card play. The cards themselves, I think the cards are more complicated in this version than in Castle Panic. And even then, it's not necessarily the most apt comparison to compare it to Castle Panic. But I don't know, I think I disagree with you that I think this is probably, especially if you add expansions to Castle Panic, this is...
I was thinking
this
base
is
game.
Simpler. Yeah, but like, even like with Castle Panic, there's more design space for expansions. I guess I can just start getting into my thoughts that I was pretty underwhelmed with this game. I don't want to say it's definitely not bad, but it's very intro-y, very light, very straightforward. Like there's a little bit of comboing you can do with some cards if I played this card before that one. And of course there's the difficulty in all the abilities on the things that you're fighting to try and figure out the right order to fight them in. But it felt like a lot of just like, all right, we put a bunch of dudes there, and then we go and fight them. And then we put a bunch of dudes there, and then we go and fight them. Like at least with Castle Panic, the idea of like, oh, well, this guy's not going to come in for a couple more turns, or something's going to make him come in faster, or, well, it's hitting over here. If we can move it over to there, it'll hit this wall, and we'll have a little bit more time. You know, like, again, to call it to call it tower defense, it's less that, I guess, so there is the advanced mode, but it's less of a tower defense type of game, and more of just a put dudes out there and fight them. Put dudes out there and fight them. Put dudes out there and fight them. Because even the movement isn't that big of a deal.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, that's just action selection at that point. I don't have action point allowance, really. It's like I don't have enough action points to move over there, heal back up, and then come back.
It's not even like, all right, I'm going to move, I'm moving that direction. It's like, I'm here, now I'm here.
Well, I have this constant ability that says when I move through a place, I get to kill one guy. Okay, so that would be good. Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
none of that.
Even a lot of, I mean, there's some... With this double strike thing, if you play a card, you can immediately play another card with the same name, which is another thing is that each deck has unique cards. Like they're all different. We don't all have the same deck, but we all have 10 cards, and there's a lot of duplicates. So we really have like 5 different cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 different cards. So
the two big hits.
The two big hits, and then 2 of each of the smaller ones.
I'm gonna somewhat agree on the difficulty. The first time I played it, I kicked butt at it. I was like, wow, that was really easy. And then I played again, and we actually lost. It was, it comes down, a lot of it's the dice rolling, because there is a lot of luck in this game. And then when we all played together, we lost too. And it's just like, oh my goodness, like, you do lose a lot of them. But if you were playing on the harder mode, it's going to be even harder. It's like,
no, you don't say.
I do say, because just having the people, instead of overwhelming and then moving into another zone, they move into the center zone, and if they end the round there, you just instantly lose. So it's like just like one more way to lose, and having to like force you to go to the center to fight them does kind of suck. I really enjoy all the differences in the decks. Like with Jason, the Red Ranger, you're the leader. There's a lot of the cards that boost other heroes. So like I'll play a card, do something, and I get to boost the next attack. Even his main action is. I can let somebody else re-roll. So, like, if I'm in the battle with them, they roll, they do horrible. It's like, hey, re-roll, all the dice you want to re-roll. So it's, like, very, like, working together. There's a lot of that planning that goes into, okay, I need to move. You're going to move in there with me. We're going to attack. I got some cards I can defend for you. Or, I'm going to boost your cards. You're going to boost me. I enjoy how well you have to actually work together in this game to pull it off. There's a lot of other games where you feel like you don't really have a character. So, like, you're just like, okay, I'm playing these cards. No matter who has them, they're all good. Like, I can kind of win the game. Like, in Castle Panic, any one person can be good and, like, take out a bunch of stuff on their own. Whereas this, you have to, like, if I were just to run over here and be like, I'm going to take all these guys out, I'm probably not going to.
Yeah, because
I only have a couple
is
cards.
more of a support character anyway, so you have to know how to play to that playstyle a little bit.
I do really like that, like, the more people that are there, the more people get to enter the battle. Like, that's a cool mechanic in the game.
Mm-hmm. Sure. But also, like, things like, so we always draw 5 cards. So there's 20 cards for the monsters, right?
Yep.
We split them up into decks of 5. The first one is just 5 regular. We mix in a monster into the second deck, monster into the third deck, and a boss, which is Rita Repulsa in the base game. There's others that you can get. And we shuffle those decks and stack them on top of each other. So every game, you're pretty much guaranteed to have the first round have a bunch of monsters, second round a bunch of monsters and a bunch of putties and a monster. You know what I mean?
And the main monster.
Yeah. So it's pretty much like going to be 5, then 5 and a big monster, 5 and a big monster, then the rest and Rita Repulsa. And also just the variance in there isn't all that much. Where they're going to spawn out is kind of different, but it's just like, well, it felt like, again, just throw a bunch of plastic on there, take the plastic off. Throw a bunch of them on there, take it off.
You have to throw the plastic on there. Then you have to throw plastic around to get the right
to
things.
defeat it. And there's also just, sometimes I'm looking at my cards and it's not, it's just like, well, I roll more dice with this, so this is the better card for me to play right now.
But you don't have the energy to do it, possibly.
And that's another thing, is energy is pretty much all shared. So, it's very cooperative in that effect, but it's not really like, ooh, I don't have the resources to do this. Wait, I can play this card that will help you so you can get better. A lot of the difficulty, not difficulty in the rules, but difficulty in winning the game, doesn't really feel like, ooh, we made the wrong choice. We didn't do things right. We didn't pull off the combo correctly. We should have done this a little bit better. It's just their numbers are bigger than our numbers.
I definitely think that I would most classify this game as like a co-op dice chucker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because the majority of the gameplay is in play this card to roll these dice, this happens. Play these cards to roll these dice, this happens. Mm-hmm. Again, the game itself is pretty basic in terms of comparing to other modern board games. And even looking at the game, it really does seem like this is a box of Power Rangers minis that comes with a game you could play them with. Yeah. And I think that's probably a little bit of what they were going for is, I think even at Gen Con we were talking to Renegade about how there aren't that many of these Power Ranger sculpts out there, like, in any atmosphere.
Like getting something like this, unless
you're
going to spend a lot of money on a professional.
Yeah, people are going to come buy this game just for the minis, and then they have it, and they're like, well, I may as well try this game. This is cool. What other games does this Renegade company have? Mm-hmm. And that's what this game felt like. It felt like you're buying minis. It comes with a halfway decent co-op game that non-gamers won't have a hard time wrapping their head around.
I agree with what you're saying. I understand that looking at it through that lens, of course, like there is value in that, it's going to bring new people to the hobby market, I just think personally, I'm starting to get a little, I don't know, where I feel like the market is starting to become saturated with a lot of these games that this is bringing more people into the market, this is bringing more people into the market. Those are all good. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm glad that Transformers is bringing people to the theater, but I'm getting a little, I'm like, kind of like, And the thing is, I wanted to like this game, man. And I feel like there are, like, you could get better decks of cards and advance it a little bit more. Maybe you could homebrew it a little bit. Because, like, even, like, the Mechazoid... God, I can't... Megazord. I have it right here. Even, like, the Megazord coming together, that's a pretty neat thing. Like, there's a lot of really cool concepts that I felt were just kind of, for a good purpose. Watered down for a good purpose, but
watered down, at least in the base game, because there's tons of expansions available where you can get different generations of Rangers that have their own unique decks that could play very differently. Because it is, so the base game, you've got like the little putties and the big putties, and you've got a bunch of them, but they're all the exact same sculpt. And that I thought was a little, like, it's a lot out there, and then you realize, like, oh, it's really like, 20 of these guys and 20 of those guys, and then a couple unique monsters. Again, I'm not saying that it's a good thing that that's what the game was designed for, though, bringing more people in, but I do think that's how this game feels.
And also, when we're talking about expansions, this right here, this actually is an expansion. It's the only expansion we have on the table, but it upgrades that token. I just wanted to have it on the table. It looks great, right? Look at that.
It is super
Look at
cool.
that guy.
It doesn't do anything except...
That is something that you want to leave on your shelf.
Token.
Yeah, that's something you want to, like, take it in the bathtub with you. Play around. He's diving,
Well, yeah,
I don't know what you do in the tub.
His sword comes out, so you definitely get to play with him.
Anything where the sword gets to come out, I'm going to play with it.
Yeah. But, Aaron, you really did enjoy the game more than well, I want to say we, but at least me, because you were kind of having a good time. I know you were.
I would play it again.
Yeah.
I'm never going to pull it off the shelf and say, let's do this. Yeah. Even if, like, I've got new people, this is not going to be my go-to. But if someone sees this and says, Power Rangers, let's do it, I'm going to enjoy playing.
That's a good point. Yeah, I'd come along for the ride for the sake of the other people there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it definitely, Power Rangers does draw the attention. It's got a giant box. It's got huge presence on your shelf. People are like, "Ooh, Power Rangers! What's
Especially
that
once you have
about?"
all the expansions.
Yeah.
You're like, this is my Kalex for Power Rangers.
Yeah.
So-
Like, is that a good game? No.
No.
We have so much of it.
Well, it's just big.
Let me explain to you how Kickstarter works.
I did enjoy it. I think there's room to grow. Why they have expansions to make more difficulty, to make more choices and stuff. And we'll be covering those, probably just me, in future videos, talking about what they add to it and what they bring for changing up the gameplay. And if you are interested in just the base game or getting yourself your hands on that awesome mini, we'll have links in the description box down below. So you can get yourself one.
And while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you'll never
Be bored.
be bored.
All of these putty the putty monster patrollers. Oh my goodness.
Just keep going. Keep going.
and they're out here. They're coming around us, and we're trying to defeat them.
These dudes they're like coming all over the place.
Just coming everywhere.
It's coming.
Jesus.
And
Okay.
you gotta deal with it.
The putty controllers.
It's turbulent juice.